Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bright Hill Podcast. And Happy New Month. I don't think we've released uh, an episode for February yet, so I think this is the first. What's it called? First episode will be released this month, right? And thank you very much for listening to our podcast. And please, if we probably maybe skip a week, you can do a rerun and probably listen to the previous episode we had released, especially for those that are just joining us for the first time, right? Um, so thank you once again. Thank you for engaging with our content. Thanks for reaching out. I think most of our audience are people that they are private people. They like reaching out to us privately, and stuff. Yeah, we really appreciate that. We really appreciate that. But the best way we can know, engagement level two is by commenting, liking, sharing, rating, our episodes. That's the best way we can also get feedback, right? So
Yeah.
on today's episode, there's something to talk about, and this came out of a viral tweet that happened a couple of weeks ago. I think a an individual made a tweet advising wives to allow DNA testing. Then thereafter, so this is how the person tweeted it, right? Let me put it in a very, let me deconstruct a bit. He said, the person advised wives to allow DNA testing. Then thereafter, just sue for breach of trust and demand 100 million damages. I mean, and thereafter, so many lawyers quoted that tweet, made comment on that tweet, had their own reservation about the tweets. Are we the kind of law school or uni the person went to study law to make that kind of tweet? Um, these are some of the information out there that people pick up, hook, line, and sinker. I think we are people that if we come on here and we make an opinion about something in the past and we find out that we are wrong, I think I'm somebody that will come back here and tell you that, oh, this thing I said a couple of weeks ago, this thing that we put out a couple of weeks ago, it's wrong. Like, it's important that people make mistakes, people, put out wrong information sometimes, but it's also important that as you are doing this and as you are being corrected, you should also, you know, step up and also um, revise that correction or revise that mistake. So this will lead us to conversation we'll be having today about how does you know court or Nigerian law sees marriage as an institution. And please let us put a bit more context into it. In Nigeria, most of what we talk about here is Nigerian jurisprudence, right? Not what happened in Nollywood show. We put that to also just have like a wider conversation. Uh, but the conversation today will be about how what's it called? Marriage and institution is treated or seen before in the eyes of the law, and also what breach of trust means, where it can be applicable. So let me start with the first question for us, right? So in your own language or form and according to the laws you've read, how does the law define marriage? You know, how does it? And also uh, the right and obligation expected on couples. So take it up.
So the way the law sees marriage, especially in Nigeria, is that it's a contract between parties, and it's not necessarily like every other contract where you know the that is strictly commercial in nature. The law doesn't even see that as commercial necessarily, but it sees that as a form of agreement within parties in which a form of contract is formed and based, and that parties have obligations to each other. And if you've observed maybe divorce proceedings in any Nigerian court, you see a kind of sentimentality with it as well. They do not necessarily always want to go directly straight to the divorce. They still want you to attempt reconciliation and settlement. So contracts, marriages in Nigeria, yes, according to the law, are seen as contract, but considering our own traditional society, also affects the way we see some of these concepts, especially that of marriage. So it is not a contract strictly sense, so in the sense that um, your husband is the party and you are the wife are a party and you have to go strictly with the agreement and everything. I guess that's why prenuptial agreements are not necessarily a thing in Nigeria as well. So yes, it's a contract according to the law, but it's not a. It's more. It's seen more as more of a sentimental agreement between two people who are have certain obligations to each other, and which courts are usually not always inclined to always dissolve in the sense that you have to fulfill certain conditions, certain cogent reasons have to be placed before the court. Compared to foreign jurisdictions where you don't even need a reason to want to get divorced. In Nigeria, you need very, very solid reasons. You need valid reasons. I want to leave because of this, I want to leave because of that, and everything.
Thank you very much for that reply. That's a very interesting area you brought to. You talked about prenuptial agreement, right? So yes, it's right. Is it that it's not a thing? Does the law allow it? Can can is it? I just wonder, like, is it allowed by the law? Is it something that couples can decide?
Yes, it's allowed by the law, but it's not binding on the court. When it comes to divorce, right, there's certain things that have to be fixed. Certain things have to be agreed upon. Let's say the couples have properties, they have children, they have maybe agreement, they have agreements as to maintenance, things that are usually the prenuptial agreements. And the way it is in Nigeria, unlike foreign jurisdictions, prenuptial agreements are not necessarily needed per se. In the sense that in foreign jurisdictions in Europe or in America, or for example, in some states in America, if your wife comes and says she wants to have a divorce, she almost automatically gets half of what you have. Almost automatically gets half of what you have. You still have to pay maintenance for the children, and you have to give her half or keep paying her a certain amount for the rest of her life. Now in Nigeria, that is not the same. It doesn't apply in the sense that nobody gets 50% automatically. In fact, nobody gets half of the property automatically unless you can prove that, hey, perhaps the two of you contributed to the building of this property or to the acquisition of this property together as a couple. So over there, you need a prenuptial agreement to protect yourself because regardless of whether or not you are in the wrong, you are going to get punished either ways. It's like when the other party wants to, I mean, with the other party, which is usually the woman or the other party who has less economic power, wants to leave, they are rewarded greatly for breaking the contract or for saying they want to leave. So it's like a severance package given to the other party who isn't as economically viable as the other spouse. But for here in Nigeria, it isn't the case. For here in Nigeria, everybody goes their separate ways. The only thing that can cause a conundrum is the settlement of um, custody and properties. And even at that, properties acquired by one person in the marriage in his own name automatically belongs to him, unless the other party can show a reason why he should also have interest in that party in that property, and in the sense that, hey, we bought it together, we I paid part of this, I paid for this, I paid for that in respect of that property. So sometimes the court may hold that this property is equally for the both of you and not for just one person. So usually prenuptial agreements are not necessary in Nigeria because it's kind of fair. when it comes to settlement of properties and custody, it's usually kind of fair compared to other jurisdictions where you get a serious you get a serious hit to your assets. So, but it works. I mean, people do it, but courts are not usually bound by it. They can consider it. They may think, oh, this financial agreement isn't fair. I don't think we want to go with this. I'll make my own decision elsewhere. That's how it is.
Yeah, we're talking about fairness, right? I think it's more about is relative. You know, what's fair to you might not be fair to another person, right? I work in the on divorce packets in another jurisdiction as a paralegal, and that point you raised about there really doesn't like there has to be no reason in some other jurisdiction makes a lot of sense because there's something that is called no fault ground. You just dissolve the marriage based on irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. Um, so that's something, but in Nigeria it's quite different. It has to be tied to a reason. With the way we use sanctity of marriage here is quite high. It's not just Nigeria. I noticed that even like a country like Philippines too is also kind of like that too, right? So it's not just Nigeria. There are other countries too like that. So let's move to something more controversial in recent time. Talking about DNA, right? DNA testing for offspring of spouse. Um, is it legally wrong or is it morally wrong? You know, and does it cause emotional harm on the other partner? Usually, in this case, most time the wife or the partner or the girlfriend, the baby mama, does it cause emotional distress on the other party? So I'm kind of asking three questions now, right? Or two questions. Is it morally wrong or right? Uh, or is it legally okay? Then the other one is, does it cause emotional harm on the other party? So yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's legally wrong. I don't think there's anything particularly legally wrong about requesting for a DNA test. Perhaps going about it and the wrong way, maybe, you know, without telling the wife might raise some kind of flags that the wife wouldn't like or something. But I don't think it's legally wrong to want to um, have a DNA test. Morally, on the other hand, and that's another entirely different question. No one would like to be doubted as to their fidelity to their partner, especially in regards to the 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 father of the child. And I can understand where it comes from. But I also understand, considering the experience I have in matrimonial causes, in divorce proceedings, and what I've heard and seen, a lot of men, a lot of men are raising children that are not theirs these days. A lot of men are raising children that are not theirs. They come to court and break down and start crying when they are trying to tell the court. And like you said, you have to have cogent reasons for wanting to divorce, and this is one of it. Some men, after discovering that the children aren't theirs, elect to say that they are no longer interested in the marriage because their partner was unfaithful. So it's not legally wrong. It's morally wrong to the other person, but perhaps if a person has doubts as regards to the paternity of his child, I think the means justify the ends. If he wants to know, he should know. I think it is right, especially in light of what happens these days. I was even involved in a case in Ogumosho that time where this lady, young lady, had a child for a guy. I don't even think they were married. I think they were just cohabiting, maybe just got themselves pregnant and they were just cohabiting. And next thing, a guy from nowhere came, applied to court that he wants a paternity, there was a DNA test for that child that she has with that other guy. That he believes that that child is his, and the child is almost one, if I believe, at that time. The child is quite small. So during her relationship with this other guy, she still slept with this other dude, and this other dude suddenly, after finding out she has a child, probably just believed that considering what we had together, I think that child is mine. So I want to know. He came, applied to court, and said that he wants the DNA, to know the DNA of the child. The other guy said no, that that child is his. There's no need for DNA. And the court then, the magistrate then made an order telling them to go and conduct the DNA test, which was crazy expensive, by the way. The other guy, who of course wanted the DNA test, had his own money in hand. But then they were also forcing these other people who were not even financially buoyant enough to do that, to be paid, to be finding a lot of money. I think they were saying 160,000 at the time, and they were going to go to Lagos. They were going to go to Lagos. They were going to take like do like okay a trip to Lagos. They will have a policeman with them to confirm the authenticity of the DNA test. Oh, and that policeman is going to be there
That's
as they are taking the sample, so that they no tampering and everything, as a neutral party. They are also going to pay for the policeman's transport. They're going to pay for his lodging, and then they are going to pay for the test itself. And then once they are done, they will pay for his transport back. They also will come back, and then when the test is ready, they will pay for the policeman's transport to go and get the test and bring it, so that so that they will see it. So it was just crazy because I mean I wouldn't know whether that was fair or the
what
part
what
was
what was, what was the outcome though? You
but
know
funny
about the
enough, I actually I didn't get later know about the outcome because I left Ogumosho at the time, so I
yeah,
didn't know
that's all.
about the outcome. But uh, I don't know.
So
It was really funny though. It was really fun. I wish I had
the
found out.
husband, the guy, the main guy,
Yeah.
like, is going to be like, which kind of wahala be this? Like, why are you putting that? Can even if it comes out, well for him, that can even create a dent in the marriage.
Yeah, it creates a dent actually. It creates a dent. I mean, and even if it comes out, that's why even men that go behind their wives' back could do it, and they find out that the baby is their own. Really, if the wife finds out that they went to do the DNA test, it's going to create a dent like never before. She is not going to like it, and she's not going to trust you again, because it means doubt her. But then I understand where the guy or the man is also coming from when he says he wants to know whether, I mean, suspicions are valid sometimes. But yeah, that's why I say this is more if you look at it, it's more of a moral issue. I don't think it should be a problem legally, right? And I
Oh,
think there was a time we were having talks about hospitals making this thing mandatory after the birth of the child, and then some people raised the whole privacy issue. And yeah, it's going to cause a lot of problems. Like it's going to wreck a lot of marriages once that is found out. I mean, only God knows how many Baba Shagis, five boy situation we're having in this country right now.
that's quite interesting. So yeah, you thank you for the um instance you gave, the real life situation you gave. And when you're even talking about that, that tweet that I'm making reference to, probably I'll put it in the show notes or something. That tweet you're making reference to, right? It starts to make a lot of sense, right? That, yeah, if I'm the victim, yeah, of this your action. In this case, it looks like it's the husband actually, because it can, like I said, I think it can also go both ways. Because if you really look at this situation now, the one you gave is the husband, right? Uh, it makes a lot of sense that you know you are causing me emotional harm. Like, I'm really going through a lot, even money, because there's no how the guy is not going to spend money. No how he's also going to spend money. So should issue of breach of trust or uh, actions like this not result in a standalone action? Like, I should be able to get married to you. I should be still be able to institute. I should be. I should still be able to sue you. Let me put it in a layman way. To be able to sue you for this thing. You know. So what? I don't know. What's the idea behind the law not even recognizing this at all?
I think the idea behind the law not recognizing actions like this is is that regard for the sanctity of marriage in itself, right? I mean, if you're bringing your husband or wife to court unless you want to divorce, unless you no longer want to be in the marriage, it's almost equal to as coming to wash your dirty laundry in public. And Nigerians don't like that. I mean, that's our entire system isn't like that. Like, just go and resolve your this thing between the two of you, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's something in contract as well. You know, there's this part of contract when it's intention to enter into legal relations where, okay, your wife asks you to supply her, maybe give her, buy her something, and then she forgot to give you money. Can you sue your wife for breach of contract? I bought you, you say I should help you acquire this. Maybe you ask me to buy you parfait, and I bought parfait worth of 10,000 naira, and I come and give you, and you did not give me the money for the, you didn't say that, dash
No,
me. You didn't
no.
say,
Sorry, Isaac. Let me cut in here. Maybe perfect can be something little. What about something as big as, let's say, I give my wife money to like buy a property or to ship in some product, right? I mean, let's use something. You can use something as
yeah,
big as that. You know.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So regardless of something like that, right? There is the intention to enter into legal relations, intention to make this a contract. Like, so if we're ever talking about building materials, let's say you give her the responsibility of, getting these building materials and whatever, and she broke that duty. Would you treat her like every other person if that wasn't your wife, if they were in the same position? If you took her to court over it, your marriage is as well as done, right? If you took her to court over it, the marriage is as well as done. So the court understands that, hey, yeah, these things there's some things that this person may do to hurt you that may not necessarily be a crime and may also be a legal wrong where you could sue under tort for it. But if you are bumping uglies with this person and you are married and you have children together, perhaps it's not necessarily a big deal. You guys should have a way to resolve it between the two of you. So things like that make the marriage so. Things like that make the marriage so, and the courts would rather not get involved. In fact, there are some judges where if you even bring matrimonial causes to their front, say you must reconcile. You must find a way to reconcile. And I don't blame the judge. I mean, I think sometimes he doubles as a pastor in church on Sunday, so to dissolve marriage is, I mean, gives him the ick. So some judges will want to reconcile. Some judges don't even send you. You can get your marriage dissolved within a week or two. So yeah, that's how it is. Breach of trust. And again, the example that woman cited on Twitter, where she said, if your husband said he wants to do any test, let him. And then when he comes back, sue him for the fact that you've left him, you've given your permission already. You have no grounds to now come
Like
back
say
and say
that.
that. Eh, you
Let
say you've let him. Well, you want to go and do it. Go. You've given your permission, even if it was sarcastic, or you were just trying to. You want to go and do it again. Well, go and do it. It's still you've given your express permission for him to do it as well. So even if you had a cause of action to begin with, I doubt you have anything anymore. You've already given your permission for that. And that's done.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of feminazi will not like this your divergent position. I mean, a lot of people want that tweet to be true, to be the true, you know. Yeah, so yeah, it's just what it is, right? It's just what it is. For me, I get the other part of that conversation too. I think I get it, but the law is the law. So let me let's move to this last you know question, right? Okay, so breach of trust. Where when does it come up? Like, what kind of situation does it come up? Really, like, in what situation? Since it's not really that applicable. Marriage. What other situation does it really like come up? It can be something
So,
outside marriage.
of
Something.
course, so breach of trust comes up where someone has a fiduciary duty towards another person. And by fiduciary, I mean, how do I even explain that? So it's more like, you're in a position of trust. You're in a position of a duty. You're in a position where you have an obligation towards someone. And usually in express contracts, if you are an advisor to someone, let's say a financial advisor, you have a fiduciary duty to your client. If you are a if you are a promoter of a company, if you're a director of a company, you have a fiduciary duty to that company. So if you are in a position where you know, you have certain obligations towards someone, towards something, and you use that position in which you have for your own personal gain or for your own advantage, it's called breach of trust. So breach of trust can come in so many ways, maybe making extraordinary profit as a result. If let's say you are a trader, for example, and you got wind of maybe something that was coming. Maybe you as a director made extraordinary profit off the stocks of the company, maybe by using an external third party to buy the stocks, knowing that it's going to go up or go down, regardless of depending on the situation. Could be said you are in breach of trust. So breach of trust could be criminal, could be stated criminally or in a civil capacity as well. That's basically what breach of trust is.
All right. Yeah, here you have it, guys. I think I've broken it down. Um, talked about these things, right? I don't think there's anything else to say about this thing. Is as I think it's one straight. I think it's kind of straightforward. I think this is probably the most this is probably the simplest conversation we have about law and legal matter. It doesn't even anybody can pick this up and even understand it, regardless of age grade. And this is how marriage as an institution works
Yeah,
in Nigeria.
I think I still want us to address something.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, considering what you do as
Mm,
and where you work and how you've dealt with a lot of divorce proceedings outside the country. I mean,
yeah.
do you think that our family law or matrimonial causes law, marriage act should evolve to protect, for example, should be more streamlined to more direct, actions? Unlike the way we have it here, where we have to go to court, you have to have a cogent reason compared
Mm,
to over there, where you can just file papers, you can just write. I mean, and most Nigerians think that that is how it goes. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you just
yeah.
write papers, just write and you just fill a form, and next thing you know, you are divorced. On
Yeah.
compared to what the reality actually is, and it is that you have to go to a court, you have to stand before a judge, you have to give evidence that your marriage has broken down irretrievably, and you have to give any of the reasons stated there that this marriage has broken down. And compared to foreign jurisdictions where you don't have to give any of such reasons, you can only you can basically fill a form on papers and file, and that to be dissolved.
You
So, do
don't
you think?
already you don't already know everything now. So
No, no, but you've done it. So, but
yeah, yeah,
do you think we should adopt that kind of a system here? What do you think would be the pros and
yeah.
cons of that kind of a
No,
system?
no, not really. Thank you for that question. That's a very good one, right? So I really don't think so, and let me tell you why.
Right.
Something about even down to proposed order is usually like arranged by the party. Proposed order of the court, what the judgments or order the court is going to give is you that will even draft the proposed order.
So it's like terms of settlement adopted as consent judgment.
Kind of basically. what the
Oh.
judge that the order that the judge will give you, the order that the judge will give you is you
So
that you
basically, you that
there's
you
a
just
sample,
everything
yeah,
there. Wow.
there's a sample, yeah. It's just for the court to just put their stamp, you know, sign on it. It's very simple when the other party is cooperative. Do you understand? It's not as if that is also that straightforward. It's very simple when the other party signs the paper, do everything, boom, 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 boom. If there's no problem within 2 3 months, you're done. I don't think that is something we should adopt here. Yeah, we can adopt part of it, but not everything entirely. We have a
What is
different
it?
we have a different culture here, right? Our culture is quite different. The way we uphold marriage as an institution, it's very high. It's like a community thing. When marriage takes place here, we believe that it's not just you and your partner. It's a communal thing. I mean, parents, people invest so much. Like parents invest so much. I mean, in Yoruba land, for example, now, as a matter of fact, they believe that it's even the family that even takes a chunk of the obligation, financial obligation, in some place in Yoruba, of the marriage. If you are being honest, that's why some families will be like, eh, see, if you don't have the financial capability, we are there to support you and stuff, right? So people invest so much, and when you make something like that um, easy or very pedestrian to dissolve, it doesn't reflect much of our culture, right? I think the system should be reserved. The only thing I think I have about the system is just that it takes time to get a decision. Sometimes it takes it. So and that affects the children, right? I think that's where the problem is. But in terms of parties, attending court hearing, taking those steps, I think it's okay. And also the ground. I mean, domestic abuse too is also a ground, right? If you have been, and it's fine difficult to live, it's a ground. So, uh, yeah. So because
The other thing you said about the time it takes, it
yeah,
made me remember an authority I read and went through the other day. And they started off at the High Court. In fact, I think at the customary court, because it was customary marriage. And the children, of course, were minors then. I think they were 8 and 6 and 2 years old. By the time they appealed and got to the Supreme Court, all the children were already grown up and they were no longer minors again.
yeah,
What are you asking for?
yeah. That's I think that's just the major problem with our own. In fact, see, it's like the paper thing now. If you have the your partner's signature, you can even although that's criminal though.
Yeah.
That's even wrong. But if you have the signature, something once you sign that paper, like other things are because in that paper it waives the right of service. It waives the right of service. It waives the right to represent, to appear. It waives so many rights. So you don't even need to even serve him documents. Because that
So over
paper,
there, divorce are like water.
it depends on the states too. Now it also
Yeah, it
depends on
depends
the
on the
state.
state.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
depends on the state. I'm talking about even one. I'm talking about one state. Yeah, they're about like 20 something states. So it depends on the states. There are some states that are more conservative than the other. So it
Mm.
depends. So yeah, that's it. All right.
Thank you
So
for
sorry, I
that.
almost forgot. I'm even the host, Charlie. Isaac, don't.
Now, now most of us be the host
Maybe,
now.
maybe on the next episode, Isaac is going to ask the question.
Yes,
So,
I'm practicing ahead for that one.
so yeah, that's it. There you have it, guys. A very interesting episode once again. Thank you very much, and once again, please hit the subscribe button and do well to share and rate on Spotify. See you next week, guys. Thank you.
Bye, guys.